What's going on, everybody? This is Brian Mazique, aka Unique Mazique, the hardest working man in sports and gaming. And if you're wondering if I got on the same clothes or it's the same day, it's the same day. I wouldn't put on the same thing. Like, even if it was, I wouldn't do that. That's kind of, I wouldn't do that. What's going on, Nelson? Let's talk. Let's do this. Ask us, bro. They have asked
Right.
us stuff, bro.
The people have questions and we may or may not have answers. What we
All
got for
right.
number one?
This one is from who is this from? It's a lot going on here. Like, okay, sometimes people tag things like some people are serial taggers. I think MJ Mixmaster Mike 23 might be a serial tagger. I'm just saying you might have a problem, and the first step to overcoming your problem is admitting you have one. He says fans have been itching for a new version of EA Sports MVP baseball for a long time. Is there any chance for a return for the 2019 season? Absolutely not. I mean, I'm not saying that there's not going to be a return of the series at some point, but the baseball season start, bro, in like a month. If you ain't heard about it yet, it ain't coming. You know what I mean? Not this year. More than likely, it's probably not. I guess it's still time to say it will come in next year, but um the development on a game like that is probably going when they relaunch it. I do believe EA will come back to baseball at some point. When they relaunch it, it's going to probably be like a 18 to 24 month build up, you know, before they relaunch. That's a
Yeah, there's gonna
major
be an
deal.
E3 teaser, and
Yeah, that's a
it'll be
major
interesting
deal.
because the show is universally recognized as an excellent,
It is.
possibly best sports game every year.
Yeah,
And
it's a little too stagnant though. It is, and I just actually wrote something up about that on Forbes that it's way too stagnant for me. Like it's a great game overall, and a great series. But the problem with it is that they don't add enough wow features,
yeah,
and because they're not adding wow features, they're kind of just sticking um with the same formula that has proven to be successful. But I think at this point, it's time to do something bigger. So that's their problem that they haven't done that yet. Um, so yeah, I think that's the only thing. So I do think that there's room for it, but they just haven't taken that opportunity yet. So I think it's room. Like the other thing is that the show is a PS4 exclusive.
yeah,
So if
yeah.
you're an Xbox baseball
Xbox.
fan, you ain't got nothing except for like
Hmm.
Super Mega Baseball, which is a really good game. It's just arcade. So yeah, no. The answer to that is no, Mixed Mastermind. All right, question two. This one comes from She's Apples, which is his name is Paul. He is a prominent Ask Us Broer. So he says, why do you think people are not tuning into SmackDown Live on Tuesday night? And what do they need to do to improve to attract viewers? Well, as of someone who watches SmackDown pretty much every week, uh, I just think that it's just not as popular of a show after Raw. Raw is the flagship show for the WWE. But anybody who watches both shows regularly will tell you SmackDown's a better show. It's a better show. It has better talent. It's shorter, which makes it better because Raw, it's a lot of filler there. And from my understanding, Vince McMahon would like for it to be shorter, but USA Network doesn't want it to be shorter because they want the rest of those ad dollars. But yeah, SmackDown's a better show. So I don't know what else more they could do. I think when SmackDown goes to Fox, because Fox has the rights for SmackDown now, and it doesn't start until October though. So I think you're going to automatically see bigger ratings once it goes to Fox because it's a bigger platform than USA, and it's going to be introduced to an entirely different demographic. It's going to be some people that were watching whatever they were watching on Tuesday, Friday nights, whatever night it ends up falling on, and wrestling's going to come on. They're going to be like, wrestlers on Fox, and a percentage of those people are going to start watching all the time now. It's just the way it works. So I think the ratings will go up then. We'll have to wait and see what the objective is for them at that point. So yeah, I don't know. Did you have a thought on that one?
Honestly, I think they need to get with it and put one of them shows on YouTube. It don't mean they can't put it on TV. Throw it on YouTube, man. Watch what
Mm.
happens.
or just make it the WWE network exclusively, you know. But they do already have shows like that, 205 Live and NXT is that way. So I don't know.
Yeah,
We'll see.
I think YouTube will be the move. I think it would help because it would be abundance because they need to get. There's people who just ain't watching TV on Tuesday night.
Yeah, that might be it too. It's funny. We talked about this because I just did an interview with Chris Jericho, and it's up on my Wrestling with Mazique
Nice.
channel.
I
Yeah,
love
I did it.
Jericho. How
Yeah, I
was
did it.
that?
It was pretty cool. I did it yesterday, and we talked about All Elite Wrestling because he's a part of All Elite Wrestling.
Hmm.
And I asked him. I said, "Do you think that a wrestling promotion could survive exclusively on a streaming service?" Where, just like on Netflix, or do you think one could survive on HBO or Showtime? And that was where it is. And, because wrestling has to be live to a degree
Hmm.
for it to really do its thing. But I always wonder, what would it be like if a wrestling promotion was filmed almost like Game of Thrones?
Hmm.
And it was like an entire season was just filmed ahead of time. And it
Yeah,
just came
it
out
just
like
came
that.
out, and
And you binge watched that bad boy, and it just went
it
up
could
for
be sick.
it could be sick. Like
It could
if
be sick.
you get like the crowd or whatever, whoever is there, they have to sign, NDAs or
It's been
something, and
done
then
before.
yeah, something like that. Like I'd be interested in knowing what does that look like,
Yeah,
you
I
know.
think I think it's a worthy idea to explore.
Yeah, I do too. I think it would definitely be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, I don't know about that one. All right, so our next question comes from uh Trevor Allen, Real Allen 23. And he says, "Is it time for Jerry Reinsdorf to sell the Bulls?"
What do you? I'm very curious to hear about your answer to this, Mazique.
I 100% think it is. But you ever know something, it's time for something to happen, but you absolutely know it's not going to happen. So you don't
Hmm.
even give yourself time to think about it like that. Um, I think that when Jerry Reinsdorf, unfortunately, obviously not wishing anything like that on anybody, but when he relinquishes control of this team, it's going to be because he's passed away. And his son, Michael Reinsdorf, is going to get the team at that point. Now, whether or not Michael Reinsdorf has plans to sell the team, we don't know. You never know what a kid's going to do. He might say, I don't want to run a team. I'd rather sell it, get the money for that, whatever. Or if he really, cares. But Jerry Reinsdorf has long known to prefer the Chicago White Sox, which is the team he also owns, over the Bulls. The White Sox are his baby. Baseball is his baby, right? And the Bulls lucked out getting Michael Jordan. They lucked out getting a transcendent player who just changed everything, right? I don't think that Jerry Reinsdorf was trying really, really hard to win an NBA championship. Yeah, I didn't think he was. I think like I said, they lucked out getting a player whose talent and sheer will made it so. So does Reinsdorf get some credit as being the owner for a team that won 6 championships in 8 years? Yes, but more of that credit to me should go to Michael Jordan and Jerry Krause. Because to me, those were the two most significant driving forces in those championships. I think it's definitely time for new ownership in Chicago, because to me, proof that you're not absolutely dedicated to winning is the fact that you let this current management regime stay here this long.
That's what's crazy. I'm like, because here's the
It's
thing: is
it's
he doing
crazy.
a good job? No, he's not doing a good job. He's been doing a bad job for a long time. In fact, I think the similar to Michael Jordan, just getting Thibodeau in there in a
Mhm,
time when that game style that was like going to work
mhm.
fixed a lot of Chicago's problems
Yes.
temporarily
Mhm.
and made them look, made the organization look healthier than they were. I mean, it's a profitable organization,
Very. I
but
mean, dude, just no. The Bulls have, like, what is it? I think it's a record for consecutive sellouts,
yeah.
and it's
So
still going.
it's a shame what's happening to you guys. As a
Yeah.
Knicks fan, obviously I've been there. But luckily for us, James Dolan backed off and basically isn't doing anything anymore. And I
Mhm.
think that's really the answer. It's not so much, him selling the team as it is he needs to find management that makes him confident enough to say, "You just keep the money coming in, and I'll back off."
But
That's what
I
really
think
needs to
he's
happen.
done that. I just think he picked the wrong guys.
Yeah, and he needs to, be
Yeah, I think he just
evaluating.
picked the wrong guys. Like that is pretty much Jerry Reinsdorf is not known as this, really overbearing type of an owner. He's not Jerry Jones. You know what I'm saying? He's not that guy. He's picked guys that's supposed to guide this franchise. They're just not doing a good job, and he won't replace them for
Yeah,
whatever reason. So that's the problem. That is the problem. But yes, to answer the question uh, concisely, yes, yes, it is time. All right. The next question comes from Michael Rigsby Jr., Mr. 1989. This dude had people thinking that my contests were rigged because when I would run a trivia contest on Twitter, I mean on Twitch, he would answer every question like right every time. I was like, dude, like you're gonna have to get something wrong because people think I'm giving this to you,
uh-huh.
like you're really me. But his question says, who has more pressure on them this offseason, Jerry West or Magic Johnson? As a clip,
Easily by a million miles, it's Magic Johnson.
I would agree. I would
And
agree.
here's the thing. There's a couple of things going on. Number one, the Clippers are just the Clippers. They're
Yes.
already way better than they should be right this very second. They're so good that they almost had to trade away Tobias Harris in order to continue with their plans accordingly.
Yes.
And that Tobias Harris trade, although Tobias Harris is a very good player, is already like Jerry West genius happening.
Hmm.
And the fact that he didn't get rid of Doc Rivers and is allowing Doc Rivers to do what he's good at, coach without any culture friction. They've got a good thing going on there. He's good. Like they could swing and miss and just roll with draft picks and Gilgeous Alexander and develop slowly and be fine.
Yeah.
The Los Angeles Lakers as a franchise, without even considering Magic, but just the job that he has to do.
Yeah.
Oh, and let me before I finish this, let's just say Jerry West is 80 years old and has had a career of being a stellar NBA figure in
Yes.
virtually every capacity.
Yes.
So he is allowed to fail now, which is the very
Yes.
definition of not having pressure.
Yes.
But if you look at just the assignment, Jerry West would have more pressure if he was in Los Angeles
Hmm.
with LeBron James on a 25-minute timeline to win a championship.
Yeah.
LeBron James is getting older. We just watched him
You
lollygag.
sound like LeVar.
Well, no, I'm saying I just sound like a person who reads his birth
No,
certificate.
no,
The
it's
man's getting
funny.
older.
It's funny because that's exactly what LeVar said. LeVar said, LeBron is getting old. LeBron's getting old.
And the thing, he's older, and this is what not to make this about my Knicks, but what I was saying about them was, I don't want them to make the mistake that the Lakers made. Is they're on two different timelines, and Boston is struggling with this. They have a Kyrie Irving timeline and a Jason Tatum timeline, and those two timelines are fighting with
Yes,
flaming swords on the rooftop in the rain,
that is
trying to
true.
figure
That's
out who
true.
will last, right?
That is true.
So what the Lakers have to do, there's only one way for the Lakers to be successful, and that's for them to surround LeBron James with veteran talent, acquire free agents, and win at least one championship. Otherwise, this whole thing was a big fat waste of time. In our other show on At Me Bro, we talked on and on and on about how legendary and historic the Lakers are. Nothing short. In fact, the Lakers are such a successful franchise, and we talked about Kobe, 20 years of keeping the Lakers as the NBA's number one franchise, right?
Hmm.
They're so storied that one championship is almost a disappointment.
Yeah. If that's all you got out of that particular core,
Yeah,
because if you think about all of the great cores across Laker history, most of them won more than one title. Well, the Elgin Baylor Lakers, he didn't actually even
he didn't win one.
he didn't win
But
one.
the thing is, and that doesn't matter because all that matters is we made a list, right?
Hmm.
And with the exception of Jerry West on that list, everybody else on that list
Won at
had
least
at a
three championships.
minimum of three,
Hmm.
right? In fact, why was Shaq so low on the list? Because he
Only
only
got
won
3.
3.
Yep.
Kobe got 5, Magic got 5, and Kareem got 5. On
Yeah.
the Lakers, obviously Kareem got championships in Milwaukee. So nah, you can't. It's not good enough. Like they have to get a championship. Otherwise, it's a complete fail. They
Yeah.
ideally would like to get 2 out of LeBron James because remember, LeBron James is 3-6 in finals record.
Hmm.
If he makes it to the finals and loses to Giannis or Philly or whatever, because the Lakers only got him 1 star, and say hypothetically that star came from Golden State, if it was Klay Thompson, who's not supposed to be, but we just play make believe.
Right.
Klay Thompson leaves. Golden State comes down for a year, retool. LeBron sneaks into the finals, loses to some overpowered Eastern Conference team. That's a total fail for everybody. Magic's job is very, very, very difficult. And I close my answer to this question by saying nobody knows if he's qualified to do it yet.
Yeah.
He's
But
made
you know
some
what?
good
It's so
moves and
funny.
some bad moves.
It's so funny that you laughed when I said you sound like LeVar, but a lot of the points that you're bringing up are things that LeVar said, not quite as eloquently as you said them,
I said
but
them before LeVar said them, though.
okay. Yeah,
I said
I
some of
just
them
heard.
on this show.
I just heard LeVar say this. I
Yeah.
watched it last night, but I
I was a
think
little
it was
mad that he was echoing my points.
yeah, it was about a week ago. But it was I mean, a lot of what you said is he's like, Magic is just a face. Magic just a face, man. It's just a face.
I don't think Magic's just a face. I think Magic is too powerful and successful to be a face.
Yeah,
But
he's saying that Magic is just there to lure in free agents, but he's not really the guy making any decisions. He said Magic wanted the Lakers to take De'Aaron Fox. He never wanted them to take Lonzo. He said, but Jeannie Buss wanted Lonzo. So that's why they got Lonzo.
well, that could be really good news for this reason. Magic would that will prove Magic has a better eye for talent than Genie Bus, and now everybody knows it.
Hmm.
I've been saying on the other show, Sim Hangout, and on this show, you cannot draft badly and not pay for it. When you draft poorly, you pay. That's how it works, right?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
worse you draft and the higher you draft bad, the more you pay. The Lakers not only drafted poorly, but when they drafted well, they handled it poorly.
Yeah.
D'Angelo Russell's in an all-star game. He had like 23 points and 14 assists against Toronto. Gave Toronto everything they could handle the other night. They
Hmm.
would love to have him in LA right now. We understand D'Angelo made a mistake in the locker room.
Made a tough decision.
he
He made a tough decision.
made some choices,
He
but
made
he was a 19-year-old boy.
yeah, he was. He was.
And when your locker room is so toxic that you can't handle a 19-year-old boy doing something stupid, that's on y'all as an organization, and they're still paying for it. And the reason this is related to this question is because Magic has to clean up this mess in 3 years or less, because they are definitely 110% not winning the championship this year, no matter
Oh
whose
yeah.
ankle gets turned. I
Right.
don't care how many hamstrings and ankles get popped, Lakers ain't winning no championship this year, because literally every good team is better than the Lakers by a great margin, right?
Yeah. Yeah. They're not good enough.
Like there's like no amount of luck. Like when
Like
Golden State didn't
I'm
have to
not
play any other point guards for a whole playoffs,
I'm not 100% positive they're gonna make the playoffs. So
neither are they.
yeah.
So
So
yeah, so no, Magic is in a much tougher position because he has 3 years to get the kind of team that could win a championship. And might I add, even if Golden State loses Kevin Durant, don't get it twisted. They're still a 70-win team without Kevin Durant. They just gonna go back to you having a chance to beat them. And now Milwaukee, Toronto, Boston, and with the free agents moving around, possibly other teams in the East, you're talking about the Thunder, Denver. There's there's a lot of really good teams in the NBA that they have to get past, and they're in the West. It is not a cakewalk.
yeah, no, I definitely agree. Magic has far more. I don't even think it's close. It's not close.
He turned that into a rant with that ridiculous question.
Yeah, he did. Hey, that's what 1989 does, man. He does. That's what he does. I don't know. He's out of control.
We
He's out of
appreciate
control.
your question,
He's
but
out of
now the
control.
people know.
Mike, you're out of control. I just want to let you know. All right. The next question comes from Brock
Oh.
Lesnar. I just had to. This is what TV network would be best for a weekly wrestling show from All Elite Wrestling. We actually just talked about this a little bit, but I think Turner is probably the best one. I think they have experience presenting professional wrestling, which a lot of them, a lot of people probably that were involved are not there anymore. But they with WCW, because WCW was on Turner. I think they have a good handle on it, and they have a somewhat of a footprint in professional wrestling. The only thing I would say about Turner is I do think that you need to have some sort of streaming service component to your network if you're going to do this. I also think, as Nelson was saying before, having some sort of YouTube presence or online presence, or that, I think that would be great. I also think that Twitch is a really viable platform for this as well, especially for AEW, because AEW is their leadership is chock full of hardcore gamers, chock full of it, right? Kenny Omega is a fighting game fanatic, right? Like he literally has Kenny Omega Street Fighter invitational tournaments,
Yeah.
at events, and the Young Bucks love
And if you're watching the show, there's probably a 95% chance that Kenny Omega can beat you in Street Fighter. He's a good player.
yeah, he's good at it. He's good at it. And you got, the Young Bucks and Cody Rhodes, they all love gaming, and so it's just a different and so putting it on Twitch to me would make some sense, and it's just totally new and revolutionary, and you're getting you're also targeting a young demographic, you know what I'm saying, by doing it. And I mean, there's so many cool things that you could do with it, like you show a certain type of match first, you show it in video game form first, and then the real life one comes. Yeah, it's a lot of cool stuff that could be done that would work well on Twitch. So I think Twitch is a sleeper, but I think the safe one is Turner. So yeah, that's
That's a
my
good
take on
answer.
it. Yeah, that's my take on that. So all right, our next question comes from Brian Ware. And Brian Ware, true to ATL, says, if your three ball rating, and we're talking about 2K, is below a 70, should you be able to hit a green release?
I'm gonna say no. That's a good question. I think 70 should actually be the threshold. I think below a 70 there should be no greens. That is what ratings are for.
I would agree. I would
In
agree.
fact, the reason you have less than the 70 is because you can't release the ball perfectly. That's what the number means.
Yeah, yeah.
You
So
know what I mean?
it doesn't mean you can't make it. It
It
just
just means
means
you can't release it perfectly.
you can't release it. There's nothing. So no matter how skilled you are on the sticks, and you can capture because I'm going to tell you, don't ask me why, but I am an expert free throw shooter with bad free throw shooters.
Hmm.
Like I can green Dwight Howard all day.
Hmm.
From the free throw line with Dwight Howard, because some of it is about the shot motion. Like
Yeah.
you might really be good at timing the perfect release on a particular shot motion. And if you can do that, then it'll kind of somewhat circumvent the ratings. So I think you're definitely on to something there, Brian, by saying let's set that threshold. So
Yeah.
as a matter of fact, I'm going to put that in the next suggestion piece that I do for 2K. And I'm sure somebody else has probably said that somewhere before too. But I think 70 is fair.
Yeah. The green window should start at 71 and then widen up to 99 from there.
Yes, I think that is 100% correct. All right, our next question comes from Kerry Williams, and he says, "What do you think about NBA 2K letting us create banners after we win a championship in my league and add to our team area?" Um, Kerry, I really just think that is one of the more small, most minuscule, like beyond. Like I'm a my league guy, and that would do like next to nothing for me. Like,
I'm gonna answer this question in a slightly different way. I think that accomplishments in the game should be rewarded more heavily.
mhm.
The game is too much the same before and after a championship. I appreciate that you get the badge if you do it in my career. I do appreciate that you get the jacket now if you win a championship in my career. That's cool. but there needs to be more of an incentive and a reward for grinding out a bunch of games and winning championships in 2K.
Hmm.
And if banners were a part of it, I have no problem with it. If a real retirement ceremony was part of it, I know they have the Hall of Fame speech, but I'm talking about in the arena.
Hmm.
I would have no problem with that. That'd be all really cool. Um, I think there's a lot of places they could go with that thinking, but it starts with that thinking. The banners is the opening to the conversation because that's something that happens, but I think it needs to go much further than that.
Yeah, I mean, I theoretically, I like the whole concept of rewarding things that happen especially in a my league, because
Hmm.
you'll easily forget, like the developers will easily forget that part of the game. But I, I just to create my own banner, like, so I'm gonna go through the trouble of creating a banner,
Well,
like.
that's creating your own is not necessary, but
Yeah,
having one.
the having a banner, fine, no problem. And you see the banner go up, and so from now on, when I play, anytime I'm playing at home, not only do I see the banners that were won in history in real life, but if I add to that history in the virtual sense, you put it up there, yes. But to create my own banner, yeah, that just seems like a really extra. Like, where, how, and what,
Yeah, that
like.
requires a whole creation suite just for the banner, and that's a waste of resources.
Yeah, I think so. That was my point.
Yeah,
That was my point. So,
but I like
I,
the thinking. I like
I
the
like the
thinking. It'd be real
thinking
fun. Yeah.
conceptually, but that, yeah, it's a couple other things from a purely cosmetic standpoint that I would like to see them focus on rather than
Mhm.
giving a creative banner suite. Um, okay. The last question. This one comes from Brian Ware. He had the really good question about the three ball 70 rating. So I got high expectations for this. And as I'm reading it right now, I already see it's really good. Brian Ware's he's on it. It's some
I think this is your alter ego. Is your
I
middle
think
name
it's
Where?
something about
Is
Brian's
it
that
Brian
that
Ware
we're
Mazique?
brilliant. I think Brian's are brilliant, and I think and he even spells it the right way, because I really don't fool with the Y Bryans. I don't really do that too much. They're like a little, so I don't do it. But anyway,
So sad.
I'm just saying they're a little, just next time you meet a Brian with a Y, I'm just telling you, just might be. Anyway, do you think a free to play football game created by 2K would take off? Um, I think a free to play football game that was done well, you get a free to play football game that is the equivalent of Apex Legends, it's gonna take off. And I don't care if it has NFL license or not. Free to play is the key. Free to play, because people, like, if you looked at the level of engagement when NBA Live drops their free demo that's almost an entire game. Look at how many people play that, right? And then compare that to the amount of people who actually buy it. It's a lot more. It's a lot more. All right. So if you did that on a free to play basis and it was fleshed out, but here's the thing about free to play games, especially deep free to play games. Those have to come from companies with tremendous resources to begin with, right? Because you gotta, you have to be able to secure some way to get your money back. And usually the only types of companies that can do that are companies who either have significant investments already, or they already have Apex Legends. Those are big time free to play games, right? And there's some other ones obviously on PC mostly, but a free to play football game, man, I think even without a license, I think would do great if it was
Yeah,
good.
I th-
If
I
it's
think
good.
I actually think it would do really, really, really well, because of the ability to put in free to play competition devices, right?
Hmm.
There's a lot of things you could add to the game to make it really worthwhile to not just play, but to win in, to customize your team in. I think the free to play competition route is the way you avoid needing the NFL license. And in some ways, you could do things that could never be done if you had an NFL license.
Yes.
I think heavily investing into a free to play football game would give great results.
Yeah. I mean,
And I would say, but not like all pro football, no likenesses whatsoever.
yeah,
All original in-game content. And I think
all original. And you know, you can let I would let people upload or customize or do whatever they wanted to do. But I would have to make sure that we were good from a legal standpoint and compare, you know, we'd have to really talk to specialists and people who were, you know, this is their field and they could set the parameters for us.
I'll be honest with you. In real life, you don't see a football player's face when they play the game, so
Right.
there's no reason to be worried about likenesses in football. It's not
Yeah,
like
no,
you can go
I wouldn't even
like
I don't
it's.
know.
I think it's a waste of resources. I think all of the resources need to go into the gameplay, the balancing, and the presentation, and most importantly, the competitive rewards. That's the key. If you give people, just say hypothetically, if you give someone the desire to win, say 1,000 games, if there's some reason that they would want to do that, you can have a hit game on your hands in a competitive free to play online football game. And your whole design strategy should be based around what could I offer? What environment could I create that would make someone say, I'm going to win 1,000 games in this game before anybody else does? And if you designed with that attitude, I think you could knock it out of the park.
Yeah, I definitely think you could get away with it in football more than you can get away with it in just about every other sport because so much of the players' faces and bodies are covered anyway. But I don't know. I do think
I
that
think you get away with it with in tennis too, because a lot of people are willing to pick up and play a tennis game,
yes.
and nobody cares about more than 5 tennis players at any given time. And if
Nobody
you
cares.
know, and I watch tennis, and
Yeah, I like tennis too. So I've always loved tennis. I've
but
been a fan since like Boris Becker. Boris
but
Becker, he
if you
got me
take
there.
Nadal, uh,
Djokovic.
Djokovic, Federer, Serena
Yeah.
Williams, and like the new Asian girl, five more off the table.
Yeah.
Is nobody care. It's not
Yeah.
a league. NBA is 400 people
Yeah.
plus coaches plus commentators, like so many people, so many personalities you have to keep track of. Tennis, your license is just five to 10 people. You don't need it, right?
Yeah.
It's not really bringing that much to you. So you
Yeah. I
can get
think
away with an online
creation
tennis
suites
game.
are more important in tennis.
Much more. But see, in tennis, the creation suite is the draw. In football, the creation of your team strategy and ability is much more important than the way your guy looks,
Yeah,
because you're
I
not
honestly
going to
I
see his
think
face.
creation of your team look is more important than the
Yeah, and
yeah,
that's what I meant by customization. So
yeah,
that kind of thing,
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would definitely agree with that. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that put that way, I would 100% agree. Man, I'm telling you, man, Brian's a beast. These two questions were pretty awesome. You know, I don't know, man. Jeez, this guy is awesome.
I need y'all to submit more questions so this guy doesn't have to submit as himself.
No, no, I promise I'm gonna have
If
this
you want to
guy.
talk about something, you can just ask me, man. It's okay. It's all right. I'm here. I'm here. I got you.
Now he thinks I'm Brian Ware. Now he thinks I'm walking around here like Sami
Brian
Zayn or
where?
El
Brian right
Generico.
here. That's where.
But it's so funny because it the questions he asked actually sound like me.
That
Something I would
last that
say.
last question was that was a unique Mazique question.
No, I
Not as
swear,
not as unique as we thought.
my right-handed guy, that is not but it does sound like that. It
It
really
does.
does. That's amazing. That was pretty dope.
But not just Brian. I want to thank everybody for their questions for this episode of Ask Us Bro. Hopefully you guys jump in and give us a bunch more good ones for next week.
Absolutely. Hashtag ask us bro. Send it to at me bro show. And that's what we got for you today. I appreciate you guys watching as always. God bless and peace.